Welcome back. Well, after weeks of infighting and leadership rumblings, the Deputy Nationals leader has told her colleagues today to get on with the job. But an unlikely alliance is now threatening to steal the coalition's thunder in the regions. As I brought you last night, Pauline Hanson and Bob Katter, their 4-day drought tour is really shaking things up. Sky News political reporter Eliza Edwards has more.
Pauline Hanson trying on a new hat for size and a new alliance with fellow Maverick MP Bob Katter.
You look like you're in love.
The political power couple hitting the regions, encroaching on Nationals turf in Charleville in south-central Queensland.
It's about being out here with the people, listening to the people on the ground and taking the message back to Canberra.
Hoping to capitalise on farmer frustration in the bush over drought policy and calling for the farm household allowance to be extended beyond 4 years.
The household farm allowance, you don't cut it off over 4 years. You've got areas in Queensland have been drought affected now for 8 years.
They know we're going to announce additional drought support very soon, and so they pop out to drought affected areas now so they can try and take credit for it. It's like Pauline and Bob know the sun's going to come up tomorrow, so they're around there saying the sun's going to come up, the sun's going to come up, and then when it does come up, they want to take some credit for it.
The government has already responded to criticism it's not doing enough to help farmers by offering them at least one lump sum payment once their farm household allowance dries up. The Deputy Nationals leader today clearing up how the process will work.
The legislation that's sitting before the Senate next week will make sure that the minister can make a rule at any time in the future to make additional support available to those farmers doing it tough.
But One Nation is threatening to crash the Nationals' victory party if the legislation clears the Senate, claiming credit for the changes.
It's only because of people like myself and Bob that are on the ground, take it back to Parliament because they're in fear of the public backlash and losing votes, that we actually put pressure on them to start listening to the people.
The Hanson and Katter drought roadshow could inflame tensions in the National Party once again after weeks of rumblings over Bridget McKenzie's handling of drought policy. The deputy leader accused of letting One Nation steal their thunder on support for dairy farmers, but she's delivered a strong rebuke to her colleagues in response.
And I can tell you what those that live out in the country don't want to see. It's bickering and inside backbiting. I'm busy getting on with the job and I suggest to National Party MPs and senators that they get on with the job because that's the very least we can do for the rural and regional Australians that sent us to Canberra.
Cabinet is meeting tomorrow to discuss the next wave of drought relief with an announcement expected soon after. Eliza Edwards, Sky News, Canberra.
All right, I want to get into that and a whole lot more. Let's bring you my talkback panel. Luke Grant from Sydney radio station 2GB and broadcaster from Darwin, our wonderful Darwin friend, Mix 104.9 radio host Katie Wolfe. Great to have you both on the show. I want to jump into all of that we just ran there, Luke, in relation to both Bob and Pauline up north at Charleville Way, moving in on the Queensland-specific drought issues. Yep. But I thought it was very instructive today that Bridget McKenzie was out there. She had to clarify some issues about the farm household assistance, which is still as clear as mud. Yep. But, of course, she was rebuking National Party colleagues, including David Gillespie, should name him, he's the member for Lyne, who said last week if she doesn't get her act together on dairy, he refuses to rule out running for her job. Do you think that the announcements that are pending on drought, a bit of rain that we saw in New South Wales over the weekend, do you think the government's finally getting its head around what it needs to do to resolve some of these drought issues or not?
I really don't think they are, Peter. In fact, I can tell from the phone calls I get on air, I was on air this afternoon for Ben Fordham, people don't want to be underwhelmed in this space. They're prepared to back a government with vision. They're prepared to back a government that'll think big. And although they mightn't be able to fix everything today, they can't make it rain, I think all of us, particularly the callers I speak to, they will be absolutely filthy if we come through this and we just go, oh, next time it's, it hasn't rained for a few years, we know what to do now, the household allowance and this and that. There has to be fodder delivered, has to happen quickly, and they just want someone to say, you know what, I'm going to grab this problem, I'm going to damn well fix it. We don't want to be underwhelmed. So the government's just been everywhere except where they need to be. and very concerning, because I think Scott Morrison and the government elsewhere have been doing a really good job. I'm surprised they've stuffed this up as bad as they have.
Yeah, Katie, I mean, you know this better than anyone. If you're in Charleville, Western Queensland, Canberra is a long way away, just like it is for people in Darwin. There was a front page report last week, you know, Prime Minister, where the hell are you, basically? Why haven't you come up our way? This is a big issue now for the government.
Peter, I think it's a massive issue. I think we can no longer go on forgetting about regional Australians. And I think that we saw that at the last election. And anybody that doesn't want to acknowledge that probably needs to get their head out of the sand, because regional Australia, yep, we might be smaller than those capital cities that you guys live in, but we're really important. You know, when you look at export and when you look at so many different industries all around Australia, we are hugely reliant on regional Australia. But I think this is why Bob Katter and also Pauline Hanson are getting such traction here, because in politics, perception is everything, and the perception at the moment when it comes to the drought is that the government is moving too slowly and they're not listening to what regional Australia is saying. So now you've got these two politicians who are actually quite liked in some parts of Queensland. I mean, I grew up in Mount Isa, which is actually Bob Katter country. He's actually fairly well liked because he is regarded as somebody who goes out and listens to what people are saying. And I think that the Prime Minister, some of those other front benchers need to get out to regional Australia and listen to what people who live in regional Australia are saying to them. Make them feel as important as the other states and as those other major capital cities.
Yeah, and look, I have to say, you know, it's not all the Prime Minister. I mean, we know in the campaign he bore a lot of the campaign on his own shoulders, but once you get into government, and I saw this with Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister can only do so much. You really rely on ministers to pull their weight. You've got to be ruthless enough, I suppose, to get rid of those that don't perform. And this is where the infighting, Luke, inside the National Party is not helping the Prime Minister. And you've got to wonder how hard the National Party have been fighting internally on these issues, because Scott Morrison can do a lot, but he can't do everything.
Well, that's a very good point. And we don't know what role the bureaucracy is playing either. You'd know better than us just what a handbrake they can be on the whole operation. But isn't it great?
Oh, well, you saw that with Melinda Pavey. Just sorry to jump in there, but you saw that with Melinda Pavey in New South Wales.
Yeah,
she
true.
basically had to say, if you don't agree with dams, to your own bureaucrats, get out the door. Yeah,
which happened, I think, on a Tuesday when we were all together then. Look, the National Party, I don't know what they've got to do, except that whatever they're doing now, please do the complete opposite. Because I saw you have Bob and Pauline on last night. I had them on briefly this afternoon. Wow, they are hitting it out of the park. And they're just talking about all those really big things that need to be done to fix this, not just for now, but for a long time.
Hey, Katie, just before I go, was there a Darwin connection, someone told me, in relation to the Melbourne Cup winner today?
No, not the winner. We were hoping that there was a Darwin Cup connection, I think, to the winner. But yeah, Constantinople was the Darwin connection. Two Darwin businessmen actually own that horse. So we were all hoping. The whole of Darwin was cheering for that horse, but unfortunately it wasn't to be.
So not Darwin, still an Australian horse, Australian trained, Australian owned. Yeah, yes. Well, there's only two of them in the race, so there you go. Yep. Well done anyway. Thanks for your time tonight. Luke Grant, Katie Wolf. Great to have you on the show.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.